We've seen the gold standard for communications performance in the form of the bit error rate. And now we're going to look at another way of quantifying the performance of a system, and that's using the eye diagram. Imagine an ideal rectangular transmission, and there's no noise corrupting it, there's no distortion, so I send these square pulses, and suppose, of course here, the smallest distance between there and time is the time of a bit. Suppose that I take this time series and I decide to fold it on itself. And what I do is every period of t, so now here what I'm plotting here is this bit interval tb. So I take the first plot, the first period of tb, and that's a +1, and I put the waveform here, a +1. I look at the next interval of 1 bit and I say, oh, that's an underscore. I put it here, and you see that I start piling on top of itself this waveform with a separation of exactly 1 bit. And so what I get at the end is sort of like this square that I see here. Here's the transition going up from a 0 to a 1. Here's the transition going down from a 1 to a 0. Here's the time when I'm stuck at 1, when I'm staying at 1. Here's the time when I'm staying at 0. So this is the concept of taking a time series, folding it on itself, and the folds that we're doing are determined by the bit time. Now, suppose that I have a more realistic signal, and it's not a perfect rectangle. There's distortion, maybe no noise, but at least distortion in my system. And now, but I do the same thing. I have the same strategy. So I have this non-ideal signal, and now when I superimpose them, well, when there's a transition from a 1 to a 1, that stays up as a line on top. When there's a transition from a 0 to a 0, like a 1 to a 1 here, the 0 to 0, it's mostly staying at the bottom. But when I'm switching from a 0 to a 1, there's a certain slope now. It's not just like infinite slope right up. And the same thing in the other direction. But I still pile them up on top of one another. Now, this process of folding them according to the time of a bit is called forming an eye diagram. And the reason that we call it an eye diagram is that if you look here, it kind of looks like the shape of an eye. And, you know, like the eyelid here. So this is a way of visualizing how good is the performance of my communication system. Because, of course, this is a logical 1, logical 0. We want them to be separated, and we want for it to be easy to tell them apart. So before there were just some cartoons, but this is something that looks a little bit more like what an eye diagram might be like, with a little different kinds of impairments. And the impairments could be distortion, it could be noise, it could be both. We really don't know when we look at it, but it's still a way of visualizing it. So when we look at an eye diagram, what are we focusing on? First of all, we want the eye to be an open eye. Open eye means that there is some separation between the level 1 and the level 0, because if there is no open eye, if there is no clear distance here, the eye is closed, that means that we're making all kinds of errors. We can't really separate the 1 and the 0. So there's two important features of an eye that we're going to try and quantify. And the first feature is this determination of where is the maximal eye opening. Where is it that this logical 1 and the logical 0 are the farthest apart that we can get them? So here, if you look, I've drawn this blue line at the point of the maximal eye opening. And another thing that we're going to look at is what is the separation that we should, between the 0 and 1. So now I'm looking at this height. This is the location of the maximum eye opening. Here is the amount of the eye opening, and here this pink line is the midpoint between this open eye. The high part of the open eye, the low part of the open eye, where's the middle? So this is important because this tells us when we should be doing our sampling. Remember, we had this linear sampling receiver, and I said we would sample once per bit interval. But of course, we want to sample at the point when the eye is most open. And so this eye diagram can help inform us on that decision. And before we talked about looking for where the mean is and looking at the average of the two means, this is something similar to that, choosing a midpoint for the thresholding. So if those are two interesting things we can look at in the eye diagram, there are also a whole bunch of other performance metrics which are based on an eye diagram. So an eye diagram is something that we can collect rather easily with only an oscilloscope in the laboratory, a fairly inexpensive test equipment, and they can give us various quantitative metrics on the quality of our communication signal. So I won't talk about them now, but there are things like interference, intersymbol interference, timing jitter, timing error sensitivity, noise margin. All these things are related to the eye diagram. For instance, the thickness of the one can be related to how much noise we can tolerate, or the zero, something similar. Okay, so an eye diagram is interesting because it gives us a sort of qualitative, is the eye open or closed, but it's also very quantitative. How open is the eye? It can also tell us something about what we call patterning effects, that if we have a 1 surrounded by a bunch of zeros, or a 0 surrounded by a bunch of 1s, this is going to be something that's problematic and something that we can visualize in an eye diagram. Maybe if I go back, each one of these traces is from a different pattern. What was before versus what I'm getting to here. And among all of these, there are some worst case ones, and those are when we have isolated bits. So this kind of information we can sort of glean from the eye diagram. So we could use something called pulse shaping. Remember I said that we had this P of t, which was the waveform that we chose. And this P of t, I said, we could use an ideal rectangular. We could talk about a more realistic one, which we want to be rectangular, but isn't really because of some non-ideal electronics. But we can also use a strategy to try and come up with something that's sort of a high performance, like something that, a waveform that will sort of make my life easier. And I won't get into that too much. There's some other videos that are available if you'd like to learn more about that. But it's something that I would use in order to deal with a bandwidth limited channel. Bandwidth limited channel is a channel where it's cutting off some of the frequency content of my signal. And it's because I'm trying to push too much data through this channel. This channel has a certain bandwidth. I want to send my information faster, and so I'm putting in something a little too wideband for the channel that I have. And when I'm in that situation, I can use this pulse shaping to sort of help myself. So that just to take this idea that it's something we can also see in an eye diagram. For instance, if I use square pulses, they happen to occupy a lot of frequency. They're very spectrally inefficient, and I might get an eye diagram that looks like this. If I used instead sinc pulses, which are very efficient spectrally, very narrow, least spectral occupancy I can get, then I would have a much more open eye. And so this is for a bandwidth limited channel. If I'm pushing data through slowly, that's another way of looking at it, I would have a nice open eye like this, but when I try and send it too fast, or if I don't use pulse shaping, I'm going to get something that's a more closed eye. So this eye diagram can also inform us on that. And I'll just mention that there are some mid values that are especially interesting, and they use, this is called raised cosine signaling. Like I mentioned, there's some other videos covering this. So in our experiments, we're going to use a receiver whose bandwidth is about 2 gigahertz. And at some point, we're going to start playing with the data rate to figure out, are we able to open the eye a little more because we're going more slowly, it's getting closer to what is an ideal waveform, a little less rounded, less distortion. So this is something you'll see that we can visualize with an eye diagram. Now, in that same context, suppose I used the same level of distortion. Let's say I used a certain pulse shaping, and in this case I have no noise at all. In this case I add noise. And of course, we can see that the eye is a little more closed. My point in showing you this is just that if I look at the noise here, it doesn't look terribly different from the noise here. It's very hard, no, it's impossible to tell the difference between additive noise and distortion when I'm looking at an eye diagram. But what I can do is quantify how that impairment is going to affect me, whether it comes from noise or whether it comes from distortion. I can at least quantify how much that eye is open or not.